What is going on, troopers? Welcome to the Trooper Transmission. CT3939 here, breaking down Andor episode 9. Nobody's listening. Kind of like this channel, but we're going to change that. We got a brand new setup, brand new mic. We're moved into the new studio. We're excited. And we're going to break down episode 9 of Andor. Take Holma is visiting, getting Mon Mothma hooked up with some gangsters. Vel's her cousin. Mon Mothma's, losing it. Uh, Dedra is getting even crazier. And you got Cyril going absolutely psycho. And then, of course, you got Andor in the prison. He's got to bust his way out. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit. But let's start with Dedra's arc. And I thought right away, man, right after Halloween, what a better character than her to just creep you out. She's working with this Dr. Gorst guy, and they basically put on these Bose headsets onto Bix, and it's like, hey, this is gonna be the voice of some dying children. Don't worry, it's harmless. And that turns her, obviously absolutely crazy. I thought Deidre's interrogation was absolutely just super like intense. And that was something that I think we're seeing with her character getting more and more intense. And as she gets confidence and as she starts to really know what she does, I think she's going to become even a bigger villain than she has kind of seemed earlier along in the season. The fast forward scene for her and her arc is she's in the ISB. She's reporting to Dr. Partagaz, or Partagaz, her, reporting officer, and she's, found another connection. They found another pilot going through a customs check, and he's going to Anto Krieger, getting ready to plan something on Spellhouse, or he works for Anto Krieger, getting ready to go to Spellhouse. And, it's interesting seeing the other side of the equation. Normally we're used to seeing rebels, right? Ezra and those rebels getting through customs and making it through all of these security checks. But, they're also going to nab some people, and seeing them plan on how they can, leave a trail and leave a bait to try and, mess up with the ship and leave them dead, but just enough to lure them in and really start to capture some of these different bands of rebel cells. I thought it was interesting too that they made a connection. Andor, Aldani, clean shaven. They got a good look at him. I think it's only a matter of time before, perhaps they do facial recognition scans and they recognize that Keith Garga, which always cracks me up because it's Keith Garga, basically. That's, essentially going to be their way of being like, wait, he's on this prison. He's on this planet. We need to go and nab him. But obviously Andor has plans, which we'll get to in a second. But the other big highlight of this episode was Mon Mothma. And it starts out, she's in the Senate building. I love seeing the rotunda. It really brings us back to the prequels and being able to see essentially what causes her to be like, wait, I'm just going to go full in with this rebellion because the way I'm going about things is not working. Her money's starting to get caught. She's having to work with Take Holma to figure out ways to have that 400,000 not show up. She's going to get caught. She's going to get caught. Her nefarious dealings is going to be, revealed through accounting, which, sucks for her. So she's getting desperate. Take Holma brings up the idea of working with this guy, Davil Skolden. So hopefully we'll see him next episode. Sounds like a vile gangster, maybe a little Jabba the Hutt type character on Chandrilla. And, she doesn't want to do that. But we also see her cousin, Vel. And this is something that was called out in a prediction on, I want to give credit, Rebel Force Radio. They basically predicted, hey, Vel is potentially Mon Mothma's sister or cousin because something Asinta said in the previous episode where she's like, oh, I could pretend to be a rich girl just running around. And it's like, why would they say that? Well, that's exactly who Vel is. Vel is the cousin of Mon Mothma. She got a bunch of money. I thought it was funny that Perrin was basically being like, why are you still single? When are you going to find someone? She's like, all the good men are taken. It's kind of like a dig on him, but she's just living that single bachelorette life with all the money and traveling. But in reality, her and Mon Mothma have made a vow, made a pact, made an oath to snuff out darkness and fight whatever they can with the rebellion. So I thought that was a really cool thing that they tied in. And I think Vel's going to be this kind of piece, and there's multiple hooks that are now attaching to Mon Mothma. She's in the rotunda. Nobody's listening, right? Just like this episode saying, you got Vel, you have Luthen, you have Take Holma and her work that she's going to have to eventually do with Davo. All of these hooks are being planted in her to eventually pull her fully into the rebellion, which I think is going to be super interesting. And, hopefully we'll see that by the end of the season. But then the final arc, and the one that I still am kind of on the fence about is Andor's. I don't like the music. The synths, I think, is so far removed from Star Wars. The melodies, the horns, the violins, right? John Williams music. And even with Tales of the Jedi, what Kevin Kenner did, I thought that was incredible. Those synths and that like kind of like video game 1980s vibe just kind of is weird for me, but that's a minor thing. But the good news is that they've got the escape plan. They are ready to escape. You start off with, poor old Olaf. He's not doing too well. I thought for a second maybe he was something as almost like a distraction where it's like, oh, Olaf's out. And then they go to help him, and then Andor whacks the guards. They get all the equipment, but you can see right away, everyone knows that Andor and a few other people are creating some sort of plan. He goes to the bathroom, starts cutting at the pipe. Potentially, that's the pipe that would disable the floor so that they can get to one of those security guards. But in order to get this escape plan to work, he's really got to get Kino on board, because Kino's the headmaster in that section where everyone's working. And that's where we get the name of the episode, Nobody's Listening, because Kino thinks that, we got to just stay on the straight and narrow. The Empire's listening. I'm not going to talk about it. And Andor's like, dude, they do not care about us. Nobody is listening. And he would know. He's seen so much more of the Empire rather, than Kino. But fast forward to the very end of the episode, and they're starting to be rumors. What happened on floor 2? What's going on? And it turns out when that med tech comes out to, put Olaf down, RIP Olaf, that someone was released and they were reintroduced 2 days later to floor 2. And that did not sit well with the floor, and everyone was pissed. And so they probably revolted. And so they're like, fine, we'll just fry the entire floor, and killed everyone. And that's when they realized no one's getting out of this prison. No one is escaping. And it's really going to be on the prisoner. And I think Kino is fully on board now. It is on me. It is on Andor. It is on the team to escape. Otherwise, we're going to end up like Olaf or everyone on floor 2. So that's my thoughts. That was a good episode. Wasn't going to blow any socks off. It wasn't like Aldani. It wasn't quite to the level of Tales of the Jedi, but it's still always cool to see the other side of the ISB, see criminals, and from their perspective, see the rebels actually get caught, because we're so used to them not getting caught and making these magical escapes. But some people are definitely going to get caught, and it's cool to see. I think making it more realistic that there were a lot of failures en route to the success, which ultimately ends up being Luke on the Death Star. And I just love that these episodes give so much more color to the bigger pictures. I think Andor makes Rogue One a better movie. Rogue One makes the original trilogy a better movie, a better series. And so all of this is just adding color to the bigger box, the bigger sandbox that it plays in. And super excited to see what next episode brings, because that's going to probably round out this arc. And then from what I've heard in reports, we'll have a 2-episode finale arc that, hopefully get some fireworks going. But let me know what you thought of the episode down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. This has been CT3939, checking out on the Trooper Transmission.